Assalamu alaikum guys, I'm going to be reacting to inshallah Mehdi Hassan absolutely intellectually destroying this ex-commander, general, genocidal maniac, and there's something he says at the end, excuse me, at the end that I was like, this guy cannot make this stuff up. He cannot, like, what he says is literally what they're doing, and we need to watch it, but did you guys know the definition of emergency is a serious situation that requires immediate action? Imagine your loved ones under rubble in an earthquake, or bombs being dropped in Gaza, or in Yemen, or in Afghanistan where there's an earthquake. Brothers and sisters, we're working with one ummah to get immediate relief to those who are in need. Please go to the link and donate whatever you can, inshallah, and let this be a sadaqah jariyah that you use there for your brothers and sisters when they need it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. So this is a video of some kind of a comrade, general, whatever, genocidal comrade, as you can see, and Mehdi Hassan, inshallah. We're going to watch this, inshallah, and look at some points where Mehdi absolutely annihilated him, and he mentions a very interesting point towards the end. And I was like, wow, just imagine if anyone from the other side, opposition side, said the same thing. Let's watch for ourselves, inshallah. Here's the first interaction where Mehdi destroys this clown.
I don't think that any reasonable person can say, well, Israel is at fault for Iran twice firing missiles on all over Israel. So what Israel is doing is defending itself against Iranian attacks, first and foremost Hamas. And Hamas is down but not out, and now dealing very lately, and after a long period of time of 70,000 Israelis being evacuated from their homes for 11 months, but dealing with Hezbollah as well. And I think that in the coming days, or maybe a little bit more than that, Israel will expand its defenses to the real destabilizing factor in the Middle East, which is Iran. And to put everything within the Netanyahu context, I think it's a bit, intellectually lazy and flat. There's so much more to it, and it really takes away agency and responsibility from all of the other actors that are attacking Israel. The Gaza and the Hezbollah and the Houthis and the Iranians and Iraqis and Syrians, all of these, they have no agency, they have no responsibility, they all are part of the Netanyahu show. I find that a bit hard to believe, and I think it's kind of a lazy argument to be making.
All right, Mehdi, your response to that?
Well, let's just deal with the agency issue first. A few things. One is, a lot of those groups you mentioned have all said that their fighting with Israel is tied to what's happening in Gaza. Many of them have offered the Houthis, Iran, and I said this to you peers last time I came on the show, and you said, how can we trust them? I said, don't trust them, but call their bluff. They've all said, you end the genocide in Gaza, you end the violence in Gaza, you get a ceasefire, and we will stop fighting with Israel.
Which genocide? The one that Hamas started on the 7th? The genocide that Hamas started on the 7th?
The genocide that your country's being investigated. Can I finish a sentence? The genocide that your country's being investigated for the International Court of Justice right now.
Jonathan, let Mehdi finish his point. Jonathan, I'll let you respond after Mehdi finishes his point.
Yeah.
Mehdi.
I barely started, but he doesn't want people to hear what's going on. All of those groups have said they'll stop if Israel stops its genocide in Gaza. NBC News reported that Israel killed Nasrallah because he said, I'm only going to do a deal with you if you do a ceasefire in Gaza. I want to link a ceasefire in Lebanon with a ceasefire in Gaza. And the Israelis told NBC News that's why we killed him. So we know that these groups have agency. Israel has agency. Jonathan Conricus wants your viewers to believe that Israel just blindly, Israel was just minding its own business and Iran attacked it. Israel attacked Iran first in Syria. They bombed an Iranian consulate in violation of the laws of international law and international diplomatic law. Yeah, they killed Iranians in Iran. They then bombed Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. They bombed the Iranian capital. And then they bombed Beirut and killed a senior Iranian general. So actually it was Israel that's been provoking. And when he talks about source of destabilization in the region, everyone in the region knows it's Israel that's destabilizing region. It's Israel right now that's escalating wars in multiple countries. Everyone around the world knows it's Israel that's the country that is causing the issues. 40 countries, peers. 40 countries have just put out a statement on Saturday saying, can Israel please stop attacking UN peacekeepers, blue helmets? So please don't give us lectures on who is stabilizing, destabilizing the region. And final point, as for winning, the Israeli general who ran the Gaza division, Gadi Shamni, says Hamas is winning, Israel is losing in a big way. Those are his words, not my words.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's the way they're making it seem as if Yemen, Lebanon, Gaza, Palestinians, Iran, everybody's like, you know what, we are going to have a fight with Israel because we're just bored. Unbelievable. But you see what just happened to him. He got dealt with. The second point.
I live here. So I don't think that you're in a position to be lecturing anybody about what's really happening in the region. Okay. I am the one who is running with my family to bomb shelters when Hezbollah fires missiles and when the Iranians fire missiles and when Hamas fires missiles. I am the one who has family who has been evacuated from the north. I am the one who has close relatives and friends who were massacred on October the 7th. Don't lecture me about who is the source of instability. I agree with you that a lot of countries and a lot of dark people have a problem with the Jews living in their ancestral homeland. But that doesn't make it wrong that we're here. We're going to continue to be here and continue to defend ourselves despite the likes of you and despite our enemies. And I'll tell you that our history is so full of people that wanted to kill Jews and wanted to force us out of our homeland. But we're back, we're here, and we intend to continue to stay here despite the best efforts of Iranians and Syrians and Lebanese and Gazans and others.
Mehdi.
I do need to respond to that. So, first of all, as for lecturing you, as I say, 40 countries put out a statement, including many of your own allies, including Hungary, one of the most pro-Israeli countries in Europe, saying stop attacking UN peacekeepers. These are not dark anti-Semitic forces. You can't keep playing an anti-Semitism card and undermining the very real struggle against anti-Semitism by using it to defend a government that is full of some of the most racist people, anti-Arab, anti-Muslim, anti-Christian people on the face of this planet. You are spokesman for a government that contains people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, open racists, prosecuted for inciting terrorism. So we're going to talk about lectures. You should keep your lectures to yourself and be embarrassed for the government you served. As for you living in the region, the problem is not you living in the region. The problem is the army you served and the country you were a spokesman for illegally occupies other people's lands in the West Bank, in Gaza, in the Golan Heights, now in Lebanon again. You are the country that is illegally occupying other people's lands. It's not about you living in your homes. It's about you taking other people's homes. It's about Israel now aiming to annex Gaza, according to Haaretz this week, that Netanyahu no longer has any interest in saving the hostages, as he never did, and is eyeing annexation of Gaza, to quote the Israeli newspaper Haaretz. And if we're going to talk about people dying on October the 7th, some of us have condemned that. Some of us oppose that. You only oppose attacks on Israel. You support attacks on non-Israelis. On Monday, let's say his name. Let's say his name. Shaban Ahmed, 19 years old. No. You don't get to interrupt me. Sorry, you do not get to interrupt me. You have to get taking the high ground on interruptions. You'll come back in. Piers will bring you back in. I'm going to finish my point uninterrupted. Otherwise, don't be a hypocrite, as well as someone who represents fascists. A 19-year-old young man, Shaban Ahmed, was a software engineering student.
You're the one who's
can
paid by
I finish my sentence, Piers?
Jonathan, just wait, Jonathan. I will bring you.
Piers, you can't tell me not to interrupt. Otherwise, this conversation will.
No, Mehdi, finish your point, and I'll bring Jonathan in.
Oh, please don't threaten us, Mehdi. We know you want to be here so desperately.
Okay, Mehdi, finish your point.
A 19-year-old... You keep interrupting, Jonathan. People can see what a hypocrite you are. 19-year-old student, Shaban Ahmed, software engineering student at Al-Azhar University. Jonathan's military destroyed his university, destroyed his house, displaced him, made him homeless 5 times over the past year. On Monday, the world, we all watched him burn to death thanks to Israelis bombing the area outside the hospital. He was on an IV, on a bed, in a tent. He burned to death. His mother died. 2 maybe 3 other people died. I'm not sure how Jonathan still comes on these shows and defends that kind of barbarism and open war crimes. I'm not sure how Jonathan sleeps at night watching people burn to death thanks to the military that he served and is now being investigated both at the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court.
Jonathan?
So, interesting point. So he is saying that, Mehdi, you are lecturing us on anything, but I'm the one who's running to bombshells and doing this and this, etc. This going, my family's going through this, and it's very interesting. He justifies that his family members are going and running away from these rockets. But let's go to the base of the problem. Because just as you say that, the Palestinians who were living on those lands, in peace with the Christians and the Jews, Muslims all together, they had to suffer that. And the argument you're using to defend yourself is the same thing they're saying. You started all of this. They're saying you guys started all of this. If you didn't do that to us, we would not retaliate. I cannot go and punch someone in the face, and then when they punch me back, and then I'm going to hit them back, and then be like, and he's going like, yeah, but he hit me. But why did I hit you? You hit me first. I was chilling here, bro. I had no problem. Me and you were calm. You punched me in the face and tried to take over my land. So I had to retaliate. Anyways, let's go to the next point.
I indeed served for 24 years in the IDF, and I'm a proud Israeli Zionist, and I'm a proud Israeli patriot. And I also am very proud of my service, including as a spokesperson, but also including as a combat officer in the IDF. I know what I stand for. I'm asking, what do you stand for? What kind of values do you stand for?
I don't stand for killing civilians like your military.
No, of course
raping
not.
detainees like your military.
You'll get to answer.
Well, Jonathan, did you witness rape?
You'll
were
get
a
to
combatant
answer.
officer.
Mehdi,
Did you witness the rape of detainees?
Mehdi, you will get
you asked
to
me a
answer.
question.
Mehdi, I'm not. And I ask, what are your motives and who pays for what you do?
So it's a very simple answer, as I told Jonathan Levine of the New York Post. I love this new talking point, Piers. It's got around the right-wing media and the pro-Israel people. I run a company called Zeteo. People can check it out, zeteo.com. It's a great media organization getting very good press from the Washington Post and others. There are no foreign investors. They're all American investors. I'm an American. You asked the question. I know you can't handle brown people being part of the West. I'm an American. I'm a Brit. I was born in the UK. I'm now an American taxpayer. And I'm very concerned with American taxes going towards the funding of a genocide in Gaza, going towards the killing of a 19-year-old guy who's in an IV in a hospital bed, going towards the killing of children in a school, going towards the killing of 23 people from one family in Lebanon Monday. In northern Lebanon, 23 people bombed by your military, 2 babies killed, Jonathan. That is what you stand for. You serve the IDF, the Israeli military, which, as I say, is being investigated at the ICJ, and the ICC. You serve a military that has been credibly accused by the United Nations just last week, by Israeli media, which showed videos of mass rape of Palestinian detainees. The New York Times this week reported that your military sent children, Palestinian children, as human shields into booby-trapped tunnels and buildings. Is that what you did, Jonathan? Can you tell us today, did you ever send a Palestinian child as a human shield into a tunnel? Because the New York Times is saying your military did that. The World Food Programme is saying your military is starving starving the people of northern Gaza. Did you starve people when you were in the military, Jonathan? What do you stand for? Starvation, mass rape, ethnic cleansing, genocide? Every human rights group in the world says your military is an abuser of human rights. I don't know how many human rights you yourself have personally abused. I don't know if you turned a blind eye to rape on your custody. I don't know if you killed children at at point blank range like Israeli snipers did to people carrying white flags. You can tell us today how many people you've killed or how many people you've tortured. I'll be all day.
Listen, Mehdi.
So in this point, you can clearly see he's trying to kind of dehumanize. This is one of the things the Zionists in the Western world sadly do not like. They don't like educated Muslims who know what they're talking about, because it's like, oh my gosh, they sound like us because we believe we're the only moral ones, with the white man's burden, we're coming to rescue everybody. So when somebody comes and speaks intellectually and brings evidences, that's why he was bringing doubt to that. What do you stand for? Who's funding you? Where are you? Which country are you? It's basically saying, what are you? It's us, the civilized world, against you. But Mehdi shut him down nice and easily. Next point.
The fact that someone wrote it doesn't make it true. All of these things that you say
we saw people with white flags gunned down in front of our eyes.
By someone,
Piers has seen it, and I've seen it, and everyone watching the show has seen it. Piers can tell us. Piers can tell us. Piers, have you watched unarmed people gunned down by the IDF, Piers? Why don't you jump into
I'll tell you what.
And clarify
I'll tell you what, Mehdi. I can say categorically.
Let's just be clear here on the facts, since people are not going to get the facts, because as you've read my book, there's a tactic called gish galloping, which is what you just did, which is to talk over all the facts without engaging with them. Here are the facts that people can go look up for themselves. Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the UN Human Rights Office, UNICEF, UNHCR, Save the Children, World Food Programme, WHO, Doctors Without Borders. I can keep going. Refugees International, International Rescue, they all, Care International, Christian Aid, Physicians for Human Rights. They all say the Israeli military is to blame for the casualties, for the killing of innocent people, for not giving warnings, for bombing civilian targets, and for starving the people of northern Gaza. Right now, Save the Children say that northern Gaza looks like the depths of hell. The World Food Programme says no food has been allowed in by your government and your military since the start of October. And by the way, one last point. You mentioned, maybe 10 soldiers did this, 10 soldiers did that. Actually, according to the UN, this stuff is systematic. And I would ask you asked me who my investors are. I'll ask you. You were in the Israeli military. You proudly said you were combatant. Someone asked you, were you involved in the things the Israeli military is being accused of by the International Criminal Court Chief Prosecutor, by human rights groups, intentional killing of civilians, starving of civilians, the use of rape and sexual violence against detainees, using Palestinian children as human shields, as the New York Times reported this week? Did you do any of that when you were in your service, Jonathan Connery?
None of that is correct.
So just imagine for a second a Muslim army, or for that matter, whoever it is, and they've committed atrocities, these Zionists have. Do you really think they would have any seat in anywhere talking or even defending? He is there. Just imagine the Muslim armies, a general, ex-commander, whatever for that matter, sitting there and all these accusations. There would be uproar. But this is what we mean when they dehumanize Muslims. Don't care. He can casually come there and try to justify, and we did it for this reason. There'll be no reasons. But you can see that when it comes to the issue of, is Russia justified in doing what they do in Ukraine? There is not a single topic or debate I've seen out there about it. But when it comes to Zionism, there is. The double standards of the Western world. Two last points.
Going after an enemy aggressively, that's what war is. When you're attacked in your home, when your women are slaughtered, when babies are killed, when women are raped, and when your civilians are burnt alive and people are taken hostage, that's called a declaration of war, and you fight that. You don't fight it by being nice, and you don't fight it by being gentle. You do fight it according to the laws of armed conflict, and you try to adhere to those criteria. By and large, I think that Israel is succeeding. Sure, there have been mistakes, and sure, there are...
to suggest otherwise. It's also interesting that Jonathan responded to your question, Piers, by talking about how, and I think I'm quoting him correctly, that when you come into our homes and you kill our civilians and you rape our women and you set us on fire, that is a declaration of war. Which is ironic, because he's just described everything that Israel has done in Gaza and the West Bank, both in recent weeks and months and over the years of occupation. So how come it's not a declaration of war for Palestinians when Israel does it to the Palestinians? It's only one-way traffic. Only one side has a right to defend itself, right? Not the other side.
Okay, this was the crux of the matter of all of them. And these are all, by the way, accusations. There is nothing substantial about what he said about the intentional killing, the rape, children, beheading, this. None of them are substantial. They were all lies. Now the thing is this, he's saying, if somebody did this, would you not fight back? Yes, I will not blame you fighting back. But you guys are the ones that are actually doing it. There are evidences from your own people about you doing it, from Haaretz, yes, and your own government officials saying it with their own mouths. So you saying that if someone does that to me, I have a right to fight back, but in reality, you are the one that's doing it to others, not the one that's doing it to you, and now you are basically using that. Do you not look in the mirror and say, what a moron I am? Like, I'm literally sounding like a moron. That's the point. So you can do that actually to others, but when those who are really going through those things that you just mentioned, they are not allowed to resist back and fight back. You cannot make this stuff up. And lastly, but not leastly, Mehdi Hassan puts him in his place with this last statement.
Israel. Of course I can criticize, and I even do it on my Twitter. I've said things about my prime minister, I've said things about my military. Of course I have.
You couldn't even criticize mass rape by your fellow soldiers.
Listen, there hasn't been mass rape. It's such
Shameful,
it's such a nonsense talking point.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
It's such a nonsense talking point, so I won't even...
So the UN's lying, the New York Times is lying,
it is
CNN is lying.
The UN isn't saying it.
Everyone's
the
lying.
UN isn't saying it.
Except
The fact that you mentioned an organization name,
the UN commissioned an inquiry last week.
Chaps, we're going to call a timeout.
Everyone can Google it, Jonathan, and see how much
we've descended into.
And that's it, brothers and sisters. That's not much can be said, inshallah. May Allah bless and preserve you guys, brothers and sisters. Mehdi Hassan once again did a fantastic, phenomenal job by exposing these Zionists, double standard, hypocrite scums. Enjoy the video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.